Simon's Quest for the Nintendo Entertainment System was the second entry in the Castlevania series, released in 1987. Love it or hate it, the game changed the way we play Castlevania, creating an open world that took Simon through populated towns and villages, rivers and lakes, with multiple NPCs that would dispense information to help the Belmont across his journey. Sure, most of what they said was gibberish and really didn't help our hero on his quest, but there was something about this, making Simon feel like part of the larger world, which lay outside the confines of Dracula's Keep. Konami would implement this open world style, a game's design that utilizes a large open map the player must travel forward and then backtrack through to progress, creating what is now referred to as Metroidvania. In many ways, Castlevania II was ahead of its time. Later Castlevania titles had a hard time transitioning to 3D. Some of them worked, but most were plagued by growing pains so immense it was hard to create a concrete Castlevania experience. Castlevania Quest Horror, a fan-made 3D remake of Simon's Quest for the PC, is plagued by the same problems. But curious minds deem it well worth a look. I have to point out right away, the character design is way off. Whatever is going on here, it's a bit of a mess. Everything that moves is a blur, and it looks like it's in a constant state of motion. Maybe it's something with the programming, but the 2D sprites just don't stick to the 3D models very well. With that said, there will be moments where you can see what the designer was going for, and it's glorious. But you will find yourself playing as a Simon Blob more than a Belmont. The enemies have the same problem, and I spent a lot of time guessing what I was whipping at. Is that a skeleton? A floating eyeball? The merman on the river? If you squint just right, you might be able to make them out. What I can say though is the baddies are here, and they attack just like their NES counterpart. As a staple of Castlevania, when Simon is hit he is tossed backwards, and this can cause the player a lot of trouble. Perhaps knocking you down a few flights of stairs, or into a nearby lagoon. This miss makes every potential bump even more threatening. The control is tight. Simon's whip does lock onto enemies and candles, and just like the original, they drop special items and hearts. But platforming is damn near impossible. The platforms are just too small for a 3D game. The in-game camera can also cause some headaches. The stationary camera does provide some gorgeous dynamic angles, but it will invert the player's control randomly, leading to some confusing jumps. Still, if you are a fan of Devil May Cry or Resident Evil, you will adjust just fine. But what really makes this game worth it is the level aesthetic, not the design, but the aesthetic. It really captures the feel of Simon's Quest. I can't deny there is something about those pixels pasted perfectly against the background. It just hits a nostalgic nerve. My favorite part was the view from this dilapidated tower. Something about those sprite mountains rolling majestically in the distance. It gives a feeling of scale so epic, so perfect. It reminds me of the larger world that is Castlevania II, and with 4 stages to choose from, you will have plenty to explore. I do recommend Castlevania Quest Horror, just to see what Simon's Quest would feel like in 3D. Yeah, it's damn near impossible, but so was the NES counterpart, and what works, really works. It's worth it to get lost in those glorious 2D 8-bit sprites come to life.